welcome to my garage, and an especially warm welcome to all my fellow DBS chums. The DBS chums being a worldwide group of DBS owners who communicate with each other via email and talk about the cars and their restorations. And if you're not a member of the DBS chums, then get in touch in the comments below and I can enroll you if you have a car or even just an interest in the DBS if you're a specialist of the mark. Now this car, my Aston Martin DBS 1968, well, and when I say mine, of course I mean mine and my wife's. This car has not got the original engine. I'll explain more about that in a moment. And I'm doing this car as a Restomod mod. So I'm putting in things that will really bring it up to date and make it feel truly luxurious in the modern sense of the word, because let's face it, in the 60s a car only had to have leather seats and it was a luxury car. There's no point trying to make it original or taking it back to original. It's just had too many changes made to it so far. Now I didn't put the replacement engine in. That was done before I bought it by the previous owner, and a very good job was done. Simon, if he's watching, well done. I still am in awe of the job that you did to put the Jaguar engine in, but I took the car apart because I wanted to make it absolutely tip-top fantastic in every detail and make the car truly luxurious. I've got a list here of some of the things that will be or are different about the car, and I'll go into those in more detail in other videos. But the main difference with this car is that it has a 4-litre straight six Jaguar engine, supercharged from Jaguar XJR X300. This is an absolutely superb engine. It's the perfect choice for this car, and I'm going to tell you more about that in a moment. So this car has been subject to a professional metal restoration to eliminate the rust that I found in some of the structure down below the bottoms of the wings, behind the aluminium. I mean, the car had a superb paint job, and I'm trying to preserve the paint and look after it so that it doesn't have to have a complete respray when I've finished. But it'll certainly need respraying lower down. So all the suspension components, including the differential, have been stripped and refurbished. The differential, that was a very expensive rebuild by a specialist. All the suspension has been apart, the brakes have been refurbished, the brakes have been upgraded to V8 ventilated discs, which were taken from another car. You know, if you're going to make the engine more powerful, then you really have to upgrade the brakes, and that's what the car has now. The real reason I took the car apart, I suppose, was because it had no internal ventilation. You can roll the windows down, but apart from that there was very little going on, virtually no heat coming through to the cabin. There was fresh air coming in straight from the front of the car straight into the cabin, so which is fine if you're driving the car in the summertime, but if you want to drive it all year round, that's really cold. So I wanted to introduce air conditioning and a really powerful blower system. The original system from the factory wasn't really up to much in the first place, so a complete redesign there. It's going to have central locking, so fob controlled, just like a modern car. The keys will still work, but you'll have a fob. And a lot of these modifications that I'm doing on the car, the idea is that they won't be obvious. So you're not going to look and say, well, you know, the car doesn't look right. As much as possible, the car is going to look as original as it can, but there will be subtle modifications that make a difference. The car will have a SIM card security system. This is a system that I had on my E-Type, and I found that was very, very good. All you got to do is text the car, and the car will text you back, and it will tell you where it is in the world. So, you know, if it gets stolen, you know where it is. You can actually cut the engine off. You cut off the fuel supply, and the car can't be driven. So I think that's a good level of security. I mean, yeah, you could pay monthly for it to be monitored, but this is contract free, and it's very effective. I've put in inertia reel seat belts, both front and rear. They're colour coded to match the interior. We've got refurbished and straightened front seats. So the front seats, the frames were very wonky. They weren't made. The frames weren't made of very strong steel. So I've upgraded and repaired and straightened the seats so that they sit straight ahead, whereas previously the back sort of flopped a little bit. And I've also at the same time put lumbar supports in. So it's electrically operated airbag. So you just press a button which will be inside the armrest, and the lumbar support will, if you need it, will be there to inflate. I'm redesigning the interior to eliminate all traces of vinyl, which the dashboard and a lot of area was covered in vinyl, which I don't think looks very good these days. So that's all going to be black vinyl on the dash, and then I'm going to create a new interior, and I'm going to introduce cubby spaces, cup holders, and just places to put your stuff, because I found that, you know, maps or whatever, there was no place to put your bits and pieces. So like door pockets, and I'll make those look like the prototype for this car had in some of the very early cars, had a different design of interior door card. There's a forward dash cam built into the rear view mirror. It's very subtle. I'll show you that in a wee while. The V8 leather steering wheel has been recovered. I managed to find a genuine V8 steering wheel, because the DBS wheel, the wood rims, they were not made strong enough originally, and they disintegrate, and this car didn't have one. So I did the next best thing, and I always like the leather steering wheel anyway. I prefer a leather steering wheel to a wood rim wheel, so that's what I've gone for. I'm going to make all new carpets, which most of which I'm going to be fitting myself, and I'm going to try and do that in a way that is not going to have as much seaming, you know, leather trim seaming, as the original would have had, and it'll look more sort of fitted, like a little bit like a modern car, and hopefully fit better. I'm going to have, or I'm currently having built all new electric, so every wire, every fuse, every relay, every single bit of the electrics is going to be brand spanking new. And the auto electrician who's been coming to do this work has given me 4 hours a week. That's all he can offer me, 4 hours a week, and he's been coming best part of a year now. So it's a lot of work, and it's not just doing the wiring, it's recording it so that there will be a full wiring diagram at the end of it, so that if anything needs to be changed later on or repaired, then we'll know, well, or the next owner will know exactly what's going on with the wiring. It's going to have a new ECU from Emerald, who manufacture ECUs, and the car is going to go back to electronic timing as opposed to mechanical timing, which it has now. and I'll explain more about that when I describe and show you the engine. It's going to have a completely new exhaust system with a catalytic converter, which is specifically made for classic cars. In fact, just happens to be here, so might as well just slip that out and show you that. Here we go. So that's a catalytic converter, which is specifically made for classic cars. And it's also going to have the sensor put in, the lambda sensor. The dip headlights, the headlights here, I had the brainwave that I was going to make those switchable from drive on the left to drive on the right. So these outside ones are UK specification, and they raise to the left and are lower to the right. And then you switch a squirrel switch in the armrest, and then they switch over to these ones being the dip, and these are continental, raise on the right and flat on the left to drive on the right side of the road. So you just get off the boat, get off the ferry as you go to France from the UK, flick a switch, and there you've got continental lights. You don't have to go sticking those stickers over the headlights. I'm refitting and restyling the front and rear valances. So the front balance was okay, but it didn't fit perfectly, so I've made that fit perfectly, and I've also cut a vent here to increase the ventilation to the radiator. The radiator is the Jaguar radiator and is much larger than the original Aston radiator, so therefore it needs a little bit more access from air coming in. I've got side repeaters here. Now, the later versions of this car had side repeaters here or possibly here, and that's all very well. You could just cut a hole and put those on, but I decided that in my quest to try and make updates and modifications more subtle, what I've done is I've hidden a side repeater here, and you don't know it's there until I actually indicate to turn, and suddenly you'll see the indicator flashing from out of the side vent here. I thought that was a rather neat trick. The battery has been replaced and resighted. Originally the battery was in the boot, and it was also, it's worth pointing out, unfused. So if you'd have had a side impact, another car had gone into the side and actually damaged the cable, the big thick heavy ampage cable with the full strength of the battery running through it, you'd have a very nasty situation there. So if you do have one of these cars, put a fuse in the back by the battery, so to guard against that. Now with modern technology, batteries can be much smaller, and this is what's called an AGM, so that stands for absorbent glass mat, which means there's no liquid in there. This means that it doesn't need to be sighted flat, and I found a space for it just here, and my electrician was very, very happy that we didn't have to have that big thick cable running down the side of the car. What else have we got? So a new interior with storage compartments, a new centre console, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it now, but I really want to have either a wood dash or a wood effect dash with cappings down the side of the door like the later cars. Yeah, it's not original to a 68, but it's what I want. I like the look of that, and I always have done, so I'm going to give that a go. We'll see what happens. There's always been a problem with these cars that fumes have come in from the exhaust into the cabin, and this is something that's happened since the cars were designed. It's just an inherent design problem with the recirculation of the air, or the flow of the air over the car. It tends to get sucked back and comes into the car. So what I've done is I've separated the cabin from the boot, using foam, so expanding foam like you have in your house when you put in double glazing. You use this expanding foam. Well, I've used fire retardant expanding foam to completely seal the boot from the cabin, so there won't be any fumes creeping up through from the boot into the cabin. There'll be other things that I'm going to do to make sure that that is no longer a problem. The catalytic converter is part of it as well. That's supposed to reduce the amount of fumes and smells from the exhaust. I've had the car up in the air on blocks, and I've been crawling underneath it for a long time. Absolutely every square inch of available surface metal has been taken back to bare metal, and I've painted it in 2-pack paints, anti-rust paints from Rustbuster. The hardware's been painted in Pour 15. The absolute most that I can possibly do to make sure that the undersurface is beautiful and will remain that way forever. All the brake lines are completely new. The boot I fitted out and made a frame so that it's going to look really neat and tidy in the boot. Beautifully laid out. There'll be a secret compartment for the tool chest. Inside there will be an electric jack, so you won't, if you need to change a wheel, you won't be cranking in there. Probably won't keep a spare wheel in there. I'll probably keep a spare blow-up canister. I haven't actually got room to put the spare wheel complete with a tyre in the boot anymore, so unless I can make some kind of skinny space saver, then I'm never going to be able to fit a spare wheel in there. The original Jaguar fuel tank that was partnered with the engine in the XJR was in the boot. That's because it's got 2 fuel pumps that are inside it, and that's necessary to feed the engine when the supercharger kicks in, so that's been retained. But it was sitting on top of I'll have to show it to you, the area, which meant it was taking up a hell of a lot of space, and I've completely restructured the shape of the boot to enable that to sit much lower, so that's made a lot of space. LED bulbs wherever possible to improve the brightness of the lights, the rear lights in particular. The amount of light luminosity that you get out, if that's the proper word, you get out of the lights from standard was absolutely woeful, so they've been improved to modern standards and even made new reflector bowls so that they look really bright. And I've got plastic wheel arch protectors, so the metal under here won't get chipped with stones. And I've also made glass reinforced plastic GRP custom made engine compartment screens to keep the mud out from the engine bay. They'll also be making a stone guard underneath there. There's other things as well that I'm going to be doing, reshaping the bumper, which I don't know if you can see from there, but that sticks out way too much for my liking, so I'm going to get hopefully someone to cut this and then weld it and polish it, and yeah, so I can't show you all the modifications in one hit, but this is just an introduction to give you an outline of the modifications that are going to be done. So I'm going to make more videos dealing with each of the aspects of the modifications and the restoration one at a time. So I'll see you in those videos. In the meantime, take care, and that's it for now. Cheers.